We exhort those who would become of our fraternity to study unceasingly the sacred scriptures, for such as do this cannot be far from us. We do not mean that the Bible should be continually in the mouth of man, but that he should search for its true and eternal meaning, which is seldom discovered by theologians, scientists, or mathematicians because they are blinded by the opinions of their sex. We bear witness that never since the beginning of the world has there been given to man a more excellent book than the Holy Bible. Blessed is he who possesses it, more blessed he who reads it, most blessed he who understands it, and most godlike he who obeys it. Chapters I. We wish the statements we made in the Fama Fraternitatis concerning the transmutation of metals and the universal medicine to be lightly understood. While we realize that both these works are attainable by man, we fear that many really great minds may be led away from the true quest of knowledge and understanding if they permit themselves to limit their investigation to the transmutation of metals. When to a man is given power to heal disease, to overcome poverty, and to reach a position of worldly dignity, that man is beset by numerous temptations, and unless he possess true knowledge and full understanding he will become a terrible menace to mankind. The alchemist who attains to the art of transmuting base metals can do all manner of evil unless his understanding be as great as his self-created wealth. We therefore affirm that man must first gain knowledge, virtue, and understanding. Then all other things may be added unto him. We accuse the Christian Church of the great sin of possessing power and using it unwisely. Therefore we prophesy that it shall fall by the weight of its own iniquities and its crown shall be brought to naught. Chapter 12. In concluding our confessio, we earnestly admonish you to cast aside the worthless books of pseudo-alchemists and philosophers, of whom there are many in our age, who make light of the Holy Trinity and deceive the credulous with meaningless enigmas. One of the greatest of these is a stage player, a man with sufficient ingenuity for imposition. Such men are mingled by the enemy of human welfare among those who seek to do good, thus making truth more difficult of discovery. Believe us, truth is simple and unconcealed, while falsehood is complex, deeply hidden, proud, and its fictitious worldly knowledge, seemingly aglitter with godly luster, is often mistaken for divine wisdom. You that are wise will turn from these false teachings and come to us, who seek not your money but freely offer you our greater treasure. We desire not your goods, but that you should become partakers of our goods. We do not deride parables, but invite you to understand all parables and all secrets. We do not ask you to receive us, but invite you to come unto our kingly houses and palaces, not because of ourselves but because we are so ordered by the Spirit of God, the desire of our most excellent Father CRC, and the need of the present moment, which is very great. Insert a symbolic diagram of the operations of nature. From Flood's Collectio Oprum. This plate, engraved by de Bry, is the most famous of the diagrams illustrating the philosophic principles of Robert Flood Robertus de Fluctibus. Three figures are outstanding links between Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry: Michael Mayer, Elias Ashmole, and Robert Flood. De Quincey considers Robert Flood to be the immediate father of Freemasonry. See the Rosicrucians and Freemasons. Edward Waite considers Robert Flood as second to none of the disciples of Paracelsus, even going as far as to declare that Flood far surpassed his master. He further adds, the central figure of Rosicrucian literature, towering as an intellectual giant above the crowd of souffleurs, theosophists, and charlatanic professors of the magnum opus, who, directly or otherwise, were connected with the mysterious brotherhood, is Robertus de Fluctibus, the great English mystical philosopher of the 17th century, a man of immense erudition, of exalted mind, and, to judge by his writings, of extreme personal sanctity. See the real history of the Rosicrucians. Robert Flood was born in 1574 and died in 1637. The de Bry diagram shown above is almost self-explanatory. Outside the circle of the starry heavens are the three fiery rings of the Imperium, the triple fire of the Supreme Creator, in which dwell the celestial creatures. Within of the stars are the circles of the planets and elements. After the element of air comes the circle of the world Earth. The circle of animals is followed by the circle of plants, which, in turn is followed by the circle of minerals. Then come various industries, and in the center is a terrestrial globe with an ape-man sitting upon it, measuring a spear with a pair of compasses. This little figure represents the animal creation. In the outer ring of fire, above is the sacred name of Jehovah surrounded by clouds. From these clouds issues a hand holding a chain. Between the divine spear and the lower world personified by the ape is the figure of a woman. It is to be specially noted that the female figure is merely holding the chain connecting her with the lower world, but the chain connecting her with the higher world ends in a shackle about her wrist. This female figure is capable of several interpretations. She may represent humanity suspended between divinity and the beast. She may represent nature as the link between God and the lower world. Or she may represent the human soul, the common denominator between the superior and the inferior. Continued. Chapter 13. Now that we have made our position clear that we sincerely confess Christ, disavow the papacy, devote our lives to true philosophy and worthy living, and daily invite and admit into our fraternity the worthy of all nations, who thereafter share with us the light of God, will you not join yourselves with us to the perfection of yourselves, the development of all the arts, and the service of the world? If you will take this step, the treasures of every part of the earth shall be at one time given unto you, and the darkness which envelopes human knowledge and which results in the vanities of material arts and sciences shall be forever dispelled. Chapter 14. Again we warn those who are dazzled by the glitter of gold, or those who, now upright, might be turned by great riches to a life of idleness and pomp, not to disturb our sacred silence with their clamorings. For though there be a medicine which will cure all diseases and give unto all men wisdom, yet it is against the will of God that man should attain to understanding by any means other than virtue, labor, and integrity. We are not permitted to manifest ourselves to any man except it be by the will of God. Those who believe that they can partake of our spiritual wealth against the will of God or without His sanction will find that they shall sooner lose their lives in seeking us than attain happiness by finding us. Fraternitas R.C. Johann Valentin André is generally reputed to be the author of the Confessio. It is a much mooted question, however, whether André did not permit his name to be used as a pseudonym by Sir Francis Bacon. Apropos of this subject are two extremely significant references occurring in the introduction to that remarkable potpourri, The Anatomy of Melancholy. This volume first appeared in 1621 from the pen of Democritus Jr., who was afterwards identified as Robert Burton, who, in turn, was a suspected intimate of Sir Francis Bacon. One reference archly suggests that at the time of publishing The Anatomy of Melancholy in 1621 the founder of the Fraternity of R.C. was still alive. This statement, concealed from general recognition by its textual involvement, has escaped the notice of most students of Rosicrucianism. In the same work there also appears a short footnote of stupendous import. It contains merely the words Job, Valiant, Andreas, Lord Verulam. This single line definitely relates Johann Valentin André to Sir Francis Bacon, who was Lord Verulam, and by its punctuation intimates that they are one and the same individual. Prominent among Rosicrucian apologists was John Haydon, who inscribes himself a servant of God, and a secretary of nature. In his curious work, The Rosy Cross Uncovered, he gives an enigmatic but valuable description of the fraternity of R.C. in the following language: Now there are a kind of men, as they themselves report, named Rosicrucians, a divine fraternity that inhabit the suburbs of heaven, and these are the officers of the Generalissimo of the world, that are as the eyes and ears of the great King, seeing and hearing all things. They say these Rosicrucians are seraphically illuminated, as Moses was, according to this order of the elements, earth refined to water, water to air, air to fire. He further declares that these mysterious brethren possess polymorphous powers, appearing in any desired form at will. In the preface of the same work, he enumerates the strange powers of the Rosicrucian adepts. I shall here tell you what Rosicrucians are, and that Moses was their father, and he was p. Some say they were of the order of Elias, some say the disciples of Ezekiel. For it should seem Rosicrucians were not only initiated into the Mosaical theory, but have arrived also to the power of working miracles, as Moses, Elias, Ezekiel, and the succeeding prophets did, as being transported where they pleased.